Morning. I'm Storm. These are my profound thoughts. Now, when you're a child, you're pretty much at the mercy of your parents and the way they decide to raise you. You have little to no choice at all in what their values are, what they place as important or not. You don't have control over what they will teach you, what they will not teach you, what you will learn from them versus what you may be expected to learn from them. And you live your childhood being kind of influenced, both subtly and overtly. These values are imprinted on you. In a lot of ways, it's been happening for tens of thousands of years, generation after generation, building another version of themselves, and these dramas that play out generation after generation: abuse, alcoholism, drug use. These have been going on for as long as humanity has been humanity. So there is nothing unique or special about our individual problems, because we're just doing what we've been programmed by our parents to do. And that was what they were programmed by their parents to do, etc., etc., etc. Now, you spend your 20s pretty much just doing everything you've always ever wanted to do, satisfying your carnal lusts, going out and experiencing life. You've got freedoms you've never had before, and you take control of your life, and you figure shit out, and you just do things. You're unlearning what you were taught, and you are going against the values maybe that you were raised with. Not everybody goes against. Some just are happy the way they are. But a good deal of people hate their parents and the way they were raised and rebel again, go against it. And yet, when you transition from a single or young person without any other people depending on you, and you become a parent, and suddenly other people are depending on you, you still have all of those doubts and insecurities that you've always had, but now you have somebody who is going to reap the rewards, benefits, or suffer the consequences of your decisions. Now things change. There is a person whose entire life depends upon the choices that I make. That's an intense amount of stress, and that stress triggers things. It triggers defensive mechanisms where you fall back into these patterns, and this is cliche, we know this, but we don't know it, right? Because we repeat. But some people break the chains of abuse. It doesn't go from generation to generations. There are people who are raised in abusive homes that then change their behaviors and raise their kids in a way that is healthier. What's the difference between somebody who continues the pattern of abuse versus the person who does not continue the pattern of abuse? Could it be magical thinking holding somebody back? Could it be desperate hope for not being wrong, or pride? I mean, I'm sure there are as many reasons to justify bad parenting as there are complications of the human mind. But knowing this, we don't have to stick to the pattern. We don't have to pursue our programming. We don't have to follow the same routine over and over again. We aren't those who came before us. We are the versions of humanity that exist right now. And so what are we going to do? We're going to choose to do the work. And when I say the work, I mean you have to analyze logically your thinking errors, your irrational fears, why you have irrational fears, figure out the root cause of them. What is it that's making you feel bad with your kids? What is it they're doing that's making you act like your dad or act like your mom? Are you your mom? You're not your mom. You know what I mean? These are questions that you have to confront in order to truly undo all of what you've been programmed to be and find out what you really are. And some people are a piece of shit. And really, they're lazy, they don't care, they're unconcerned, they're self-egocentric. There are people out there like that. And they'll never do the work. But there are a lot of good people out there struggling to figure out why maybe they're so angry with their kid, and yet they've been telling themselves, I'm not going to be like my parents, I'm going to raise my kids different. This isn't uncommon. This is a very common theme. And I'm here to tell you, it's been happening for tens of thousands of years. So you want free of this loop. You want to know if your reactions are genuine reactions. You want to feel like you're really making your own decisions and not being compelled and forced or cajoled into doing something you may or may not regret later, or you're tired of making the same mistakes again and again and again. You got to get in there and you got to do the work. Fear, stress triggers defensive behaviors. These defensive behaviors that you were programmed by your parents or whomever raised you, you were programmed to have these responses. And you never really knew that they're there because you never had to take care of somebody else who is completely and utterly dependent upon you. You've never been pushed to the point of stress beyond your capacity to deal. You may have been very fit physically, but the way you get fit physically is to push yourself beyond your capabilities. And that's what parenting does. And when stress happens, and the burden of it happens, that's when you find out who you are. You understand? That's when you learn what you're made of. You don't learn about yourself when you're happy or when things are going well. You learn about yourself when you are in crisis and you manage that crisis or don't. You manage your stress or don't. You fall into behavior loops of abuse or whatever, or you choose to forge new paths, new neural pathways, whatever. For me, I have chosen to do cognitive processing therapy, and I have seen just how intricately woven into every single aspect of my life the thoughts and values of my parents have just taken root. But after facing each of these little stuck points and doing I don't know if you want to call it shadow work like Carl Jung would say, I call it trauma goblin. You have this little goblin of vicious, nasty shit that tells you all of the things you are so afraid of, and then tells you the thing that you think you're going to do to avoid what you're afraid of. And yet that thing, that behavior mechanism, brings your fear to life. And it's a never-ending loop. And you're right because you make it right. You create the same pattern again and again and again. So you fail relationship after relationship after relationship, job after job after job, whatever it is. You sabotage yourself. How the fuck do you get out of that? You got to do the work. Shadow work, talk to the trauma goblin, do cognitive processing, or how you gotta do the work. And once you come through on the other side, you're going to be in kind of a shock for a while, because you're going to start realizing just how trapped you really were by your behavior patterns and your programming. And that you made decisions that you never would have made, except these fears and irrational compulsions forced you to make those decisions. They made you hurt the people you love. They made you say hateful, mean things, or sabotage your own works or another's. I mean, irrational fears and abusive patterns, they are very subtle. And you have to do the work to pull them out one by one. And there's no getting away with cheating it. You gotta fucking do the work. But when you face those fears and you find they have no power over you, suddenly they have no power over you. And you start making decisions that make you happy. And you find who you are, because now you know who you are, because you are different than you've ever been before. You're happy. Wow. I'm here to tell you, I never thought I could be happy. I struggle with being happy all the time. But I'm here, baby, and I am happier than I've ever been in my entire life, and it's because I did the work. And I'm able to make decisions free of compulsion, free of fear, free of worry, free of doubt. I'm able to just live and relax and enjoy my life and make decisions based on what I want my life to be like. Not based on what I don't want my life to be like. Because, just like a wise old turtle said, you often find your destiny on the path you take to avoid it. So stop avoiding the work. Find out who you are. That's all I gotta say. Peace and love.